Around this room tonight indicates the rich legacy that we have already. I cannot say anything more except I came to Tuskegee when I was 4 years old, and there was something very special about this place. Thomas Turner's daddy had the cows, and he delivered the milk to our house. I lived in Major Garner's house. I didn't even know who that was, but something told me that that was somebody special. And it turned out that he was. I haven't gotten all of his story, but he was a military man in World War I. Tuskegee embraced my family. My father started working at the VA hospital after moving from New Orleans. And I started at Chambers Children's House. I knew that was a special place too, because we were in the first grade, and we used to have a science project. Some of us remember that. And Mrs. Sprague was my teacher. And she went to the blackboard and she wrote up what the theme was for the science fair, and she walked out the room. Now, for somebody to walk out the room with some 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, that's something special. Because then we had to figure out what roles we were going to play, who was going to do the drawing, who was going to do the research, who was going to do the talking, and I was always one to organize. The special thing about Chambers Children's House was that they taught us Black history starting in the first grade, kindergarten really. And we learned the Black National Anthem. And I thought everybody that was Black knew that song, but that was not the case. Tuskegee was a safe place because the only rule that we had as children, and everybody had a bicycle that could have a bicycle, was to be home by the time your daddy got home from work. And that was around 4 and 5 o'clock. We lived in the projects up there by the Tuskegee Institute High School, which is now Tim's. And we had the white projects and we had the brown projects. But we had a whole lot of children, and we had a lot of fun. We used to ride our bicycles down Franklin Road where all the plums were, and we would get our buckets, and we would go plum picking, and we would go and nobody got bitten by the rattlesnakes that everybody told us was going to be in the blackberry bushes. But we came home and we had blackberries and we had plums. What I guess I'm saying is the same thing that you all have said. Tuskegee was and is a special place. And I personally am determined that we are going to be revised and revitalized. Because it's important not just for this town, but for the world. Because how Tuskegee Blacks go, the rest of the Black world goes. And when you go to Africa and you see a high school or a vocational school named Booker T. Washington, that's something special. And I always tell this story. I was in the desert in Nigeria, and I said, I'm from Tuskegee. And the people said, oh, Tuskegee. So we cannot take for granted what we have, because we got something special. Yes, we have challenges. Yes, we are going to resolve those challenges, but I can tell you this, when you resolve that set of challenges, there are going to be some more. And so when we have the culture of resolution and the challenge of making sure that it gets done, we got something special. So we have stayed here till 10 o'clock. This time. And I am just excited about the fact that everybody is excited. And I am pledging, and you know, we don't get paid. I want to make sure that everybody knows there's not a person in this room that gets paid. I don't get paid, nobody gets paid. We're all volunteers. Now we probably get some money sometime, other time maybe we get paid, but we are not getting paid right now. But that's the secret. we are basing all of this on personal and professional commitment. And that's what it's all about. We borrowed a term from Jamil. She had TM46, the movement 46. We all recognize, wow, that describes what in the world we want to be about. Movement, and it's about 46, and 46 is what? Macon County. That's our tag number. So we have all of that going on. We have the multiple levels of talent. We have something really exciting. And we can change the world right here in Tuskegee. I used to want to change everything in the world, and I realized everything that was wrong. But I realized if we change right here at home, that's a major accomplishment. So we are on the move.
I'll come back and talk later because there's some things I'd like to share. And I think the strongest thing is what Chief said, because it's one of the things I realized several years ago. And if we don't get to it, we won't make it. I really feel that. It's trust. And trust, as someone said after Chief, someone said after him, is what you demonstrate. It's not what you say. It's not what you talk about, it's what you demonstrate. And a large part of our problem here is lack of trust, lack of demonstration. But I want to come back later and talk in a serious way.
And I will tell the story that I told you, but I won't do that. About the Southern Hospital.
Yes.
But anyway, we worked at the radio station together. When you talk about the committees, there's so many committees that I wanted to be on. They're just, it's like so many of them, because I, just enjoy a lot of things. I enjoy music and art and business and the health profession and food and such. But that's the reason that because I see it as a very worthwhile group, and I enjoy meeting and being around the people here that are so, that are pushing to move forward.
It's interesting how the group has evolved, how we first started with an idea, and then we had a week where we were still exploring, and now we're at the point where we said, okay, now we need to get down to business. I'm an action person, grassroots. So I love that about it. We're open and we're really honestly searching, trying to figure this out. One of the things that I wanted to comment about, so I've been here since '69. I came to go to school, and I ended up staying. And I had the opportunity to kind of be in both worlds. My husband worked at the university. I tried working there, I think I did for about 3 years. But I ended up being more of a community person. People say it's boring here and there's nothing to do. Well, I never found that to be the case. But I had an opportunity to come in contact with a lot of community people. And I heard their stories and kind of understand the difference between the town and gown. Oftentimes, they describe the people who went to Children's House and those other places as the elite. And they talked about some of the stories and some of the experiences that they personally and their parents, especially the mothers, experienced. So there's a lot of hurt here. And one of the things that I guess I want to say, we have to listen and not be dismissive of others' pain, even though it sounds maybe petty, but there's a lot of hurt here. And I think the way we build trust is first start off accepting and believing. And so this is my counseling side coming on. and you get a person from A to B by first starting where they are and validating that they have the right to have those feelings, but it's what they do with them that's important. But we can't compare experiences. We listen, we validate, and we, something magical happens. When a person feels hurt, then they're willing to look at themselves. And their story can change right there in that moment after they feel hurt. So I think what we have to first do, if we're truly going to build trust, is to listen. Now, at the same time, you have to help, I won't say help, but you have to establish boundaries. And I'm going to end with this story, because I had a grocery store on Gautier Street. It never made any money, because I was busy listening. The children there loved me, because I was more interested in hearing what they had to say, and things were disappearing off the shelves, and I didn't do a lot of credit, but I was very understanding. And my husband said that we needed to close the store because there were enough social service agencies in the community. And so actually, it was after the store that I, and the experience there, which was really very, very beneficial, that I did go back to school and become a counselor, because basically that's what I was providing. But I heard a lot of pain, and it's real for them. And I think if we really want to make an impact, is validate the person's feelings. That doesn't mean that you just show empathy for them. And I think that would be really significant if we can start doing that for ourselves even, and for each person in the group. Let's hear what we're saying. And I feel there's a desire in this group to want to do that. And so that's why I'm coming. I'm excited about the energy and the feeling and the possibilities and the growth promoting opportunities.
I'm here representing the county of Macon. We talk a lot about Tuskegee, but there are some of us who actually live in the county, and I am the one representing the county. Me too. I'm a firm believer.
What are you in the county? Okay.
I'm a firm believer that we need to be the change that we want to see, and I'm a worker. I'm an activist, and the only way things are going to get better is we stop being victims. We need to give up that belief that somebody did what to me, because they can't do it to me if I don't accept it. People can try, but if I don't buy it, it ain't gonna work. It's like a conspiracy. You can put the drugs on my doorstep. I choose to pick it up or not. So we need to stop being victims. We need to do what this group, I think, is very much in the business of doing, looking at our resources and using our own resources. I'm a transplant. I didn't grow up here. I spent summers with my grandmother in the county of Macon. But I came back to work to help my mom. And I'm very much invested in moving the city of Tuskegee and the county of Macon and the town of Franklin forward. And we're moving forward because we are building, if you haven't noticed, go down Highway 49, our new town hall is almost complete.
Hello everyone, my name is Rodney McKnight Jr. I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, and now that I call Tuskegee my home, I'm most proud of and drawn to the history of our black aviators, because I'm a black pilot. And I think back to the times when I was growing up in New Orleans as a kid, and I didn't know who the Tuskegee Airmen were. I didn't know their story. I didn't know who they were, or even that black people flew airplanes. And so now that I'm here in Tuskegee, I learned about the TM-46, and when I came to the meeting for the first time, I knew I had a vision that this would be a true approach, an avenue for me to be able to teach kids how to play chess, because I'm also a chess fanatic, and teach kids to fly airplanes and work on airplanes. So that's what I do, and that's why I'm here.
My name is Derek Phillips, and I'm an alcoholic. No, I'm just just seems like everybody. I just felt there to say Aside from that, it's not true. Yeah. Let's clarify that first. But what I want to bring up is small groups. I think we need to really think about small groups and what we have here. And what I like about it is the experience. Because as a young person, you don't always get a chance to interact with experienced people. Like a few people I know already, we have King, Mr. Frazier, and I knew them before when I first came here. I had the opportunity of meeting them. But it's very important, I think, for somebody young to deal with the older people that are more experienced, because at that point we can make great strides. And so that's why I'm really pleased to be a part of this, because I can go ahead and put my thoughts out there and get something in return, experience-wise. And I think with both of those, we'll be able to get together and just grow, like to great heights. And so we all know what's going on. And like I say, being a small group, even though it's small, I think you're able to accomplish great things with that small group if we could just stay focused. You know what I mean? And support is the other thing. Support is very important. I never thought too much of it as coming up, because this society teaches you how to be an individual and think for yourself and be on your own and do what you have to do to benefit yourself and become very selfish. But as time went on and I got older, I realized that support is very important. So I like to take that and make sure that all of us understand that with all these committees that we've broken down into, support is very necessary, and so we have to support each other. So that means all the bickering and fighting, you have to dismiss that. Because once you start that, and ego tripping and all the rest of that stuff, it's going to tear the group up, and it's not going to be able to go further. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. You know, everybody has something important to say, like you said, Mr. Frazier. And so as long as we stay with that notion, I think we'll be able to do what it is we want to accomplish here. That's it.
Mr. Alcohol.
I like to stand. So I'm a high school dropout from Tuskegee. I said that, and that's significant because I got my GED and I left Tuskegee shortly after that. And I went to England for a little while, and I joined the military. I spent a lot of time in Cuba, and I finally fought and got my way back home. And the reason I share that, I've joined the education and youth development. And my philosophy with children is I don't believe in fun, I believe in work. We know idle hands are the wood. That was the workshop, right? And so I've learned that. And the reason I wanted to be involved in the Movement 46 is because I want to change one young person's life, for the better, and make it so that the circumstances that led to some of the mistakes I've made in life, that they don't happen again. And I wanted to give back to people that look like me. And so that's pretty much all there is to me. I'm so grateful to be here. I just want to express my love and appreciation for all of you, for your hard work, for your dedication, for your service, because I know that you are making a difference, and it's so important. And the reason I know that is because I've had people reach out to me, people like you all reach out to me, and that's why I'm here today. And so I just want to thank you all.
That's great. What was your name, Paul?
Paris Thomas. Paris Thomas?
Like the city tax.
Well, hello, I am Katrina Love, and I was born in Tuskegee, as a matter of fact, at John Andrews Hospital, but I did not grow up in Tuskegee. I grew up in a rural area. I've always loved the works of Booker T. Washington and George Washington Carver. Even as a kid, I often read about them. And when I was a kid, to come to Tuskegee, it was the place to be. And to see Tuskegee today, it grieves my spirit, because I know that this is not what it should be. I was minding my own business in Phoenix, Arizona, enjoying my life there. Of course, you know, the market had a little turn, and the Lord spoke to me and said, you need to go back to Alabama. And I vowed when I left Alabama that I would never come back to Alabama. But when God tells you to do something, you do it. And of course, when I got here, I met, the Lord had me to call Mary Dunn. She was a mayor at the time, and she didn't know me. But when I mentioned Phoenix, Arizona, she said, you need to come on down and talk to me, because when she woke up that morning, the Lord had Phoenix, Arizona on her mind. And I know that God connected us for a reason. I've been praying for years for the development of Tuskegee. my bishop and all the people in the church that know me, even Miss Anna, I worked at Subway as a manager for years, and all I talked about was redeveloping Tuskegee, and she can attest to it. Miss Loretta, that came in almost every day, can attest. I always talked about we've got to rebuild the city. And so I joined this movement because I know that it's birthed out of prayer. I know that it's our season to rise up to do what God has purposed and ordained for us to do as a people. And I am like a David. I'm not going to let anybody come in and say that they're going to take it. I would take on Goliath in a second because I know who I am and I know who I serve. I know that this is the season for Tuskegee to rise up. I know Mayor Haygood, because I used to hang out with his dad, a young girl hanging out with a pastor. But God was developing me and training me, and I learned from his father. And so I don't know about all of the negativity and what people did back then. And I don't hear about it because I'm focused on the now and moving forward. I don't believe in bringing up the past unless we're going to make a difference, bring up the past of what Booker T. Washington did and George Washington Carver and their wives, and also give credit to Lewis Adams because he is the reason for Tuskegee, and also Butler Chapel A.M.E. Zion Church, which I am a pastor at St. John A.M.E. Zion Church on Clark Avenue. And so I'm here to be a part of this movement because I know that God birthed it, and it's our season. I joined this youth development because I have a young cousin that's with me, and he gives me a hard time because he's always around women. He got women teachers. He got me as a this guardian mother, and women in my house. And so I said to the Lord, I got to get him around some young men. So put me with these young men tonight. I told that their kids that get in trouble in school all the time. And I said to him, I said, I will get you some other your friends that are always in trouble and talk to the principal, which I did today, and say, and the teacher, say, the kids that are getting in trouble, let me know. We will put them to work on Saturday to clean up. Don't put them out of school. We will have them working on Saturday cleaning up the city. And not only that, we talked about picking up the trash and doing a poster about recycling and beautification. I spoke with the principal this evening. She said that's a wonderful idea. Just let us know. We can get Century 21 involved in it. And we will meet you on Friday. And wherever you say go for the kids to be there, then we'll be there. So I know that this is our season as a people to do something differently. And also, because of the history of Tuskegee, I'm going to do what they call staycation with our kids, with the boys first, because we got to reach out young men. And so what I'm going to do, they're going to learn the history of Tuskegee. You're here, you need to know your history. You go to George Washington Carver, ask those kids, do you know who George Washington Carver is? They think he developed a peanut. And so the kids don't know. So if we're going to move the city forward, we got to train our children, and we got to return to the village. When I grew up, anybody could spank my butt if I got out of line. And my grandmother was okay with it. And then she was going to spank me again because I got out of line and someone had to correct me. We got to reach our children. And so we got to tell our parents, hey, it's okay for someone else to discipline your child. That's why I'm here.
I was not born in Tuskegee. I was not raised here. I was born and raised in Akron, Ohio. But my mother's parents, both of them, were from the rural part of the county. And after my grandfather died in 1974, my grandmother would come here about 6 months out of the year, and she would talk about being here and her cousins and family, and it just planted a seed in me, and I didn't realize that it was happening as I was hearing her say these things. So that drew me here, and you know, I'm a historian, and I'm here because I celebrate the connection between rural Macon County and Tuskegee. And you know, I'm well aware of the history of Booker T. Washington and all, but it just really has a personal significance for me because this is where my maternal roots are. And the first time I came to a meeting was, I think it was a couple months ago, and just realized that I was seeing a grassroots self-determined effort being resurrected in this group, and it's inspirational, and on top of everything else that draws me here, that's why I'm coming back.
and we got to find a way to make it happen. I think people here want to do that. And that's why I try to come and share some things and listen, mainly, so I can understand some things. But there's a lot more going on in the background than we recognize. And that keeps us right here. And so therefore we can only grow that far. So we got to address the whole thing. And I'm not talking about bringing folk inside your circle. You know what I'm saying? Understanding what's going on outside your circle.
Right.
I'm Lloyd Webb. I graduated from the College of Veterinary Medicine back in 1978. That was my first trip to Alabama, to Tuskegee. During the time my first son was born at John Andrews Hospital. And upon graduation, I went back to the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, which is my home. And sometimes when I hear these things about going back to your country, I keep wondering, if I'm out of place. But I came back to Tuskegee in 2011 to actually start the graduate public health program at the College of Veterinary Medicine. Because Tuskegee has always been very dear to me. I've had a lot of fruitful years in my life as a veterinarian. I've traveled to many different countries speaking about veterinary matters. And in every country I've been to, I've always talked about Tuskegee. This is where I was birthed in my profession. So when I came back in 2011, I've been hopping all over the place because I've been expressing my concerns in that Tuskegee was what I consider to be such a warm community, such a beautiful community. And it's still warm. I didn't say it was, it still is. But there are challenges. And when I came back, I said to myself, I cannot be in public health and see the challenges in Tuskegee and not be a part of trying to solve the problems. And so I got involved in several different groups. I worked with Norma and even Chief and the Mayor. We were in the emotional emancipation circles. I've been working recently with the Seed Group. And there are several other areas I'm sort of grasping in. But when I heard about someone in my discussions, someone called me and said they've got this TM46 group that meets on a Thursday, and I said I'll come. And this is home for me. I want to applaud the effort, the energies. I think we are going to make some very good strides. If everybody here is as committed and emotional as I am about Tuskegee's progress, I think we are going to go places. We have to look for opportunities of how we can advance the cause of this community, because each and every one of us would have benefited in one way or the other from Tuskegee. And so therefore I'm here to give back. I don't ever want you to tell me to go back because I'm here. So, and I respect the fact. In fact, as I've always said, even in my enthusiasm to try and do something to impact Tuskegee, I want to be in the background. I want people to know this. I'm not here to try to change your lives, but I'm here to work with you, if you would have me work with you to make the changes.
30 seconds. Michael Evan Johnson, Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a transplant here from realizing in the 3rd grade what your history was. Because in the 3rd grade where I went to school, Tuskegee was the topic. So the 3rd and the 4th grade teachers made us learn about Tuskegee, and I fell in love then. In finding a female that I fell in love with who was born and raised here after 10 years of living in Louisville and doing corporate stuff and all that other stuff I like doing there. She tricked me to come here. And there was a Christmas right after Thanksgiving. We came in 90 and 93. The trick was she already had jobs here and said, well, if I find us jobs, could we move to Tuskegee? 3 weeks later, she said, well, I found us jobs, so. When she left me by dying, I basically said, children, I'm going to Alaska. They said, no. You go to Alaska, we're going to stay with Granny on Howard Road. And I said, You are not going, I'm not going anywhere without you, and I really don't want to stay here, but I'm glad that I did stay here. And in being here, I know why, now that they're all gone, and all of them are gone. This group was really what kept me wanting to stay here. And seeing this kind of energy, we spent a bunch of money to try to do regular business. This is the way you do business in Tuskegee. Because it takes the village to really to make a difference. And this, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying it.
The first woman physician in Alabama was Booker T. Washington's first physician on campus. Literally, before Brown versus Education, the Tuskegee Airmen revolted because they weren't allowed to go to the officers club in Freeman Field, and because of the executive order from the president as a result of that, that was the basis for Brown versus Education. Changed the country. I was born in the first full-service hospital for colored people in the entire nation, and that's because of Dr. Kinney working to make sure of that. When they had the different clinics here, they had the meeting of the AMA that he helped form and ran the, he did the editing for the American Medical Association Journal, and literally had clinics here with the best doctors, which happened to be colored, come here, and they would serve and do sometimes 400 different services, health services for people, including maybe 20 or 30 major operations free on campus. And it became a model, for others. They came to Tuskegee, across the world. The college over in Liberia was built and designed by Robert R. Taylor. I started school in a place called Samara in Indonesia because of the Tuskegee Indonesian Project. The Dutch colonization had to be ended by the UN, and what happened, they sent Tuskegee teachers there to teach them how to put in the infrastructure that was left behind but didn't have any training. And again, Tuskegee was changing the world. I worked with somebody right there, Ms. Robnett, who was part of the group called ICTA, International Center for Tropical Animal Health. That started at Tuskegee. The first open heart surgery in the world was done in Moulton Field at the School of Veterinary Medicine. The first woman to perform surgery on the human heart. If you've heard of Logan Hall on campus, it was Myra Adele Logan, who was born at John A. Andrew Hospital. And it was Logan's youngest daughter. And what I'm saying is Tuskegee has affected the world, the nation, forever. And there's a lot more than that. The first trader among the Creek Nation was James McQueen, who was buried in Franklin. And I can go on and on and on. What I'm just saying is we've always changed the world, and what I'm seeing here, the world changes.
Well, everybody knows my story, at least 5 years, 195 days and counting. And I say that because 5 years, 195 days ago, my mother insisted that I come back to Tuskegee after having left in 1960. I feel blessed that I grew up in this community. I'm fourth generation Tuskegee Institute, Greenwood community to be specific. Fourth generation Creek Indian. At least my great-grandmother was Creek Indian, and I'm still trying to work on all of that. But I enjoyed the fruits of this community. Jackie James was one of our neighbors. All of the greats that you hear about, Alice Coachman was one of our teachers, Dr. Gomillion, all of these people that you all talk about, I grew up with. Lucinia and I, we grew up with. They were our neighbors right down the street. We could walk in and out of their houses at any time during the day. So when I came back here 5 years, 195 days ago, this was not the community that I left, and it saddened me. To maintain my sanity, I was fortunate enough to run into Josie. And I did some work out on her farm, and that allowed me the peace that I needed to determine what was I going to do. Because not having graduated from college, not having the ability to go and teach any of the subjects that I had learned as a kid, I figured, well, what did I get when I was here? When I was here, we played all the time. You know, everything we did was fun. It was play. You played in the band, you played on the stage, you played. Everything was a joy because we were safe, we were protected. And we're protected now, we're safe now. We do not have those problems going on that the rest of the world has. You know, I'm glad of that. But if we don't watch it, that could come here as well. So we have to protect ourselves. But working with the young people and trying to give them the same experience that I had is what my enthusiasm is about tennis. You can go anywhere in the world and play tennis. It's the same rules no matter where you go. Just become proficient at it. You can earn a living as a tennis player, as a tennis trainer, or anything having to do with that whole sport. Promotion. It's a tourism magnet. It will bring people from all around the world, and people from all around the world have been here to play tennis, and a lot of the professionals who come back here on seminars and stuff like that, they need some downtime, they need some things to do, and one of the things they used to do was to go play tennis. Even though we had a nine-hole golf course, they had more fun playing tennis. The mayor even played tennis here. The chairman played tennis. Bill Winston went to school on a tennis scholarship. So tennis it's fun. But this group that I took to Fort Lauderdale this past week, they met people from all around the world, and Orntrell was my interviewer, and you will be able to see some of the interviews that he did with the players that were there. They all knew of Tuskegee, or they knew of what we were all about, and they were very proud of what these young people did. So I say that this group has allowed us to do what we're doing, and I appreciate your support, and I know you all are going to buy some t-shirts because we got more trips to go on this year. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
Grandparents and my cousins and aunts and uncles were here. I grew up since birth coming here in the summers for the most part. And the seriousness of the situation was that I was born in Portland, Oregon. Oregon was I think designated as white land, a white state. So I was the only all the time, only. And then I remember Model Cities programs, and they created a kind of pretendo ghetto. And, you know, the Germans had moved out, and different groups had moved out. And I remember my grandmother had to come to Portland to buy a house for my parents, not for them. They gave her the money, but she had to front. Okay, so I was brought up with this passion for Tuskegee, whether it was about seeing Edmonia Lewis statues over here in the Carver Museum or whatever it was. So in my mind, my indoctrination was that Tuskegee is Mecca. And so my first political cause of action, I think I did Edwin Muskie. I think I did him. And then I did Feed Biafra. And I went door to door collecting money for Biafrans because it made me cry in my heart. And I think from there, I always wanted to escape reality. Like I wanted to tune out the world, so I would be reading French because everybody around me didn't. And I didn't have, they didn't know what I was reading, and they couldn't get in my space. And I was able to keep people kind of at bay. And my 4th grade teacher, I have to tell you, Mrs. Ullman was a Holocaust survivor from Auschwitz. And she had a tattoo on her arm, and I'm like, what's that? And she said, I said, well, you aren't a sailor. I know that because you're our 4th grade teacher. And she said, no, because of my religion, you know, I was put in a concentration camp. And I'm like, what's that? And so she taught us in social studies about the Holocaust. And I grew up reading Eli Weitzel. And I would be like this on my bed reading that and The Color Purple whenever it came out. And I'd have to sing with The Color Purple. I had to sing all the words because I couldn't figure out what they meant in, you know, I mean, I just am that special. So anyway, Tuskegee is Mecca. Eli Weitzel made me vomit. I couldn't stand it. So I was like, oh my God, what's been done to black people all these years through slavery and that atrocity and that all that horrible stuff. It's just so horrible. And I think I went around the world studying different cultures to be brought back here, to be able to live. And so I have this tremendous passion, not so much for what it was, for what it could be. Because if it's already Mecca, then if it's not becoming, and after, and I moved here permanently, I guess, on May 1st, 1987 at 1 p.m., and my mother was sick, and she was at Ole Miss, so I had to drive there. But I remember, and I said, gee, I came from San Francisco, I said, I'm where I want to be. And I'm like, I get off the airplane, my eyelashes are glued shut from the humidity, and I have on leather pants and a cable knit sweater that was really heavy, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot this hot. I hope air conditioning is everywhere. I just could remember that hot, but it wasn't as hot as it is now. But anyway, when I moved here then, I said, oh my God, isn't it wonderful? So how are you adjusting to Tuskegee, people would say. I said, do you know, I hear the frogs at night, I see the stars, there's no light pollution. I'm absolutely in love with this place and all of these people, and it's just wonderful to be here. So I thought that. And then I went to work for a state government, and that under a Republican administration again, and I pretended, you know, I was like, no, I didn't change from being a Democrat. But you know, and it's just gotten, but the older I get, the less patient I am about, like, I'm like, you know, in all these 200 years since Christ, or 2,000, whatever it is, I'm like, not one of the sins has been gotten rid of. We haven't stopped killing, it's gotten worse. I'm like, not one, not even one. There's no one thing that we could say is done because we've elevated to another level of existence. So I am so frustrated, and I try to be kind to myself, but you will hear me being frustrated. That's why. Because I know that this is a wonderful place. And if I have to give up on this, I'll just be sad. And I'll move to Paris.
Well, I'm not moving to Paris. I have an ancestral obligation. That's how I feel. My uncle was an airman. My grandfather was brought here by Booker T. Washington and was his doctor, and George Washington Carver's doctor, and built the John Andrew Hospital. My dad had a practice here. And I remember as a little girl the most amazing sense of pride at the students. Every Sunday, all of us would walk to the campus and watch the students march to chapel, the line of march. They were fabulous, they were beautiful. Everywhere you looked was wonderful. You had the sense as a child that every adult in this town was your parent, that everybody cared about you, that everybody insisted that you be successful. I mean, not doing well wasn't even a thought, because when they talk about a village, that's what it was. And I just remember being so proud of our people. And there were elements of segregation that gave us a spirit of absolute, almost indomitable, we can do anything, because we all were together doing everything. We had the boycott going on, so whatever we needed, we did for ourselves. We had our own stores. We bought our clothes here. We got our hair done here. We went to the library here. We learned how to play tennis and swim on the campus. Everything that happened on the campus, we were a part of. It was one glorious, most wonderful place ever. And I refuse to give up on what our future can be. It's a dark world. We have the brightest opportunity to remember, to remember who we are. I know with our rich, rich history and with the spirit of goodwill that has always been one of the hallmarks of Tuskegee. You don't have to know hardly anybody, but people make you feel like you're still a part of a family. This is a magical kind of place to be. And rather than sit home and complain about what we don't have, I'm so happy to be a part of a group of people who feel that we can have this. I love the fact that this is multi-generational. Just people from all over who just share that belief in us as a people and in what we can accomplish as a people and in the family that really is Tuskegee. So I give thanks to our former mayor for bringing us together. And there are a million wonderful stories right in this room. And I love hearing every little bit of it and learning more every time we get together. So this is a great opportunity, and I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Growing up here, I always used to wonder, why is my dad so obsessed with Tuskegee? And my family, anyone that knows the Neals, they know that they're obsessed. My aunts come all the time. My Aunt Jackie actually just left, and they always make their way to come back. Although they left, they still help with the community any way they can. My Aunt Betty stays on campus all the time when she comes. And growing up, I really didn't understand it, but as I'm getting older and I actually decided to go to school at Tuskegee, it makes you really appreciate and understand the roots of Tuskegee, because sometimes people are like, you're from Tuskegee? And it's like, yes, you know, this is, and I don't think a lot of people especially my peers that are actually from Tuskegee, understand where we are. Like, not too many people, I know, you know, other cities may be smaller or whatever, but not too many places are like Tuskegee, and you don't really have that much history and that much of a pride in the community. And it's kind of amazing to see, because just from, you know, going on campus and seeing, you know, my grandma used to work at John A. Andrews, my family was born there, and it's just amazing. I actually go to class, my major is in that building, so the fact that I have to walk there every day and to actually experience where so much has taken place and so much that the world has realized and understood the importance and how much it's played not only on Black America, but just the world in general. And so it's just amazing to see, and I'm so glad to be a part of this group, because I understand it's no good in complaining. If you're not going to do anything, then just don't say anything at all. Because you hear people say, well, we don't have a Walmart, we don't have this. Well, what are you doing? Are you, you know, what are you doing to, you're staying at home playing video games. And it's like, I'm just all about action. At the end of the day, I feel like if we all just come together and just realize that it's bigger than all of us in this room. It's bigger than us. We're fighting for our future generations to come. So I don't have to experience growing up and, you know, seeing, you know, this is a nice place, but for us to build on it, it just can't stay stagnant, because there's no need for that. So
My name is Charles Parham. I just found out last week that Tuskegee University hired me full-time as an art professor over there. Now I'm officially a part of the rich legacy of professors at Tuskegee, and my hometown is Columbus, Georgia. So I commute, you know, it's about 50 miles there and back, and it's worth it. I don't think too much about the gas. When I come here, I just feel like, you know, it's about business. You know, my first people meeting was Michael Johnson and Mr. Guy Trammell over there at Tuskegee, and just feeling that energy from them. I wanted to see what this Movement 46 was all about, and it's everything what they told me. So I'm very taken aback with what you all are doing here. I wish a lot of communities could see what you all are doing and take the initiative to make a change. What I see so far, being a Georgia boy, you all just don't talk, you do. And that's a great thing, so you all keep that up. I'm very impressed being a native of Georgia, what you all are doing. So keep up the good work, and even though I'm from Georgia, I just want to be a part of it, and hopefully you all don't mind that I be a part of it.
I've been out on exit 38 cleaning up and picking up trash, and I've enjoyed the, you know, what's going on. Program. It's very informative. Yeah.
What's your name?
Oh, I'm Jan Canada, and I work with the after-school program. I am my brother's keeper. So we're here in Macon County. We're doing the tutoring, the dance, the music, and I teach you drama. I did teach you. Last year was my last year. So I'm just listening, and I love everything you're saying. I've been thinking for a long time, when are we going to beautify our city, our county? I live out in Brownsville, and I walk the road picking up paper, and the people out there think I'm crazy. That's that crazy lady that picks up the paper. And I do it because I think I want my community to be beautiful. And I wrote a skit for the children of I Am My Brother's Keeper, and it was called IMBK puts the unity in community. And we talked about the very things we're talking about now. I had them to act it out.
This is my home. I say it's my home because actually I was born in New Jersey. But this is my home because this is where my roots are. This is where my grandmother and great-grandmother, this is their story. And I've inherited a lot of that leftover property that I really need to develop. And I believe that this is something that I can put my teeth into and start doing something positive with what I have been blessed with. And also, I'm developing, I have my own business, but I also work with the community girls group home here in Tuskegee. And I'm doing I talked to Dr. Webb and Dr. James earlier about possibly doing some research with some things that I'm doing on the part of women's health.
Myself, I went to California, I stayed there for 25 years, came back, there was no high school band. That broke my heart, because we always had a high school band. People like Lionel Richie and all these folks, that's where they got their start to learn music. And to me, that was really, and so I said, we got to do something to fix up this place. I mean, we got to do something. Then T100 came, and that did not work, because it wasn't supposed to work in the first place. It wasn't for us originally. So then when we have the autopsy with Chief Frazier, which is we got to do something, we have to do it ourselves, and that's what we have to do. And so that's why I'm here, because we got to make this place a better place to live. Like it was at one time, but even better, because I was also a young part of the concept program with Dean Phillips. And that was an awesome experience. People from all over the United States came here to work for a whole summer to help us here. And we have to help ourselves now.
Ms. Anna?
Well, I was born and raised here. I attended St. Joseph's grade school, and then most of us out of there went to Tuskegee Institute High School, and we sort of blended all the schools that came together as Tuskegee Institute High School. Our class, we're the class of 61, and we're still together. Those are left. We tried to form very solid friendships doing that. I left here. I didn't go to college here because my family was from here, and my dad, being a pediatrician, knew every child there was here and their parents. So I didn't figure I could be here and go to college. So I attended college in Indiana. I was the only black in my entire college class, female. I managed to get the heck out of there. And then I went to Chicago, but I realized that I was a true Southerner there. It was too cold. So I came back here. And then I started again with, what did I do? Jeez, so old. But anyway, I've been back. Once I came back, I was with TICEP. I started with TICEP when I came back here. And then with the data processing that was just starting at Tuskegee University at the time that I came back, because that was punch cards and all of that. Right. But so I stayed there about 13 years, and I spent the next 30 at East Alabama Medical Center in data processing and their data processing facility probably as a MIS security officer, which made sure that patient data was private and remained private.
So why are you involved with TM46?
Well, I want to see the place succeed. There are a lot of things I like to participate in, and you just want to be a part of. It's not so much to return to what we were, because we never left that. The spirit is still here. But I want to see it thrive and just be revitalized.
Lord, we want to say thank you again for allowing us to be here this evening, and we thank you for the good work that you have begun here. We know, Lord God, that you have a great work for the city of Tuskegee, and we thank you for every person who is committed to the work of the ministry of redeveloping the city, Lord God. We thank you for those committees, Lord, that we have committed to, Lord, that we will chair those committees with the help of the Holy Spirit, Lord God. We can't do anything in our own strength, but we can do mighty works, Lord, when you take authority over each of us. So we pray, God, that you will continue to watch over us, that we will be safe and protected, that you will go before us, that you will make crooked places straight, Lord God, and that we will always have your spirit to lead and guide us into all truth. So we thank you for blessing each person that is here, Lord, and may we always get back home safely, because we are doing your work. And we thank you for it in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.